Cade down the lane. Cade to the rim.
Question. When you watch Cade Cunningham playing basketball, what other NBA player comes to mind? His draft profile from 2021 has Luka Doncic as his player comparison. So, is it Luka?
Luka for the team. No one personally. And after a slow start, he shot does that alone.
Cade in the lane. Hook.
Volley, Dante.
Another perfect make. It's 13. Here's Luka Doncic to 12. Cade in.
I mean, there are some similarities there, but Cade can also do this.
Right by Cade!
Or maybe it's James Harden.
Stewart. Cade for 3.
Nah, but Cade is a big guard and doesn't really rely on the 3-ball too much. No, I got it. It's Shea.
Shea keeping the dribble alive.
Cade against Nas Reed.
On the dime, pulls up
Pass to Cade over Reed. He hits it.
Nah, not really. No matter who you compare him to, it's hard to fully capture the kind of player that Cade Cunningham is with just one comparison, because Cade is a very unique player. He's not exactly like Luka or Harden because he's more athletic, but he's also not like Shea or Anthony Edwards because he's not the quickest or the most explosive athlete. And on top of that, he's also a heavy playmaker. In fact, you can also see a little bit of that classic point guard flair that we saw from greats like Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, and Rondo. And when he runs the pick and roll, it's a little reminiscent of Chris Paul. I'll stop with the comparisons before someone calls me out for the action of installing Windows, but my point here is that there's probably a little bit of your favorite point guard in Cade. As a player, he's somewhere in the middle of the old school and the new modern guards, but much like a lot of the guys that I mentioned, he's also a gifted scorer and overall just a special player. And this season, Cade really put that on display and separated himself as an elite all-NBA player and one of the league's premier superstars, and now he's also proving himself once more in a bigger stage in the playoffs, where he's playing in one of the most entertaining first-round matchups in the playoffs. In the regular season, Cade finished off the year with the 7th highest points per game in the league and the 4th highest assist average, making him just one of 5 players to rank in the top 10 in both categories. And he also showed his all-around game as he tied for the 4th most triple-doubles in the league this season, and right above him were 3 former league MVPs and guys who have held the title as the best player in the league, which is also something that Cade is coming after.
I want to be the best player in the world. That's every day.
And at the moment, that's not way out of reach for Cade, because when you look at what he's doing and compare him to the other players that are doing similar things, you find that he's much younger than his company at 23 years old. And with how he's improved every season in every aspect of his game, it's not hard to imagine that there's another level for him to tap into.
Can Cade be a future MVP in this league? Possibly, who knows? But
yeah, he could be an MVP.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he got all the skill set to be an MVP. Yeah, triple-double waiting to happen.
But it's not just about potential when it comes to Cade, because even though he's still young with more to come in the future, it definitely feels like he has arrived. Like I titled this video, Cade is slowly becoming the favorite point guard for many NBA fans, and apparently many NBA players as well, and that's because in a lot of ways, he's the kind of point guard that we've all been waiting for. But before we dive into why that is, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content like this. But now, let's get into it.
Can't believe that team just lost 28 games in a row.
That is the longest streak in a single season in NBA history.
The obvious catalyst for Cade growing into the superstar he is the turnaround in Detroit, as the Pistons won more games this season than they did in the last 2 years combined and tripled last season's win total on their way to having their best season in nearly a decade. But let's not forget that during those dark seasons when the Pistons were at the bottom of the league, many fans were seriously pushing the Free Cade campaign, and the trade involving him looked like it was bound to happen sooner or later. And one thing that stood out about Cade in that time was how he embraced the team's struggles and the commitment he showed to figuring things out, as opposed to pointing fingers and jumping ship as many were suggesting, because the Pistons were the worst team that the league had seen in a long time.
Yeah, we're not 2-26 bad. No way are we that bad. So yes, I think we can turn it around. I think we can play a lot better brand of basketball than we're playing right now.
And based on what we've seen this season, Cade was right. And it also says a lot about him and how he's the kind of talent and leader that we expected him to be coming into the league.
He's the #1 pick, right? Okay, for a reason, so I got a great one.
In the last 6 years, the NBA draft has had some real generational talents at the top of the draft board, And I'll make an exception for this season because it's a little bit too early to make an accurate judgment, but for a good 5-year stretch, every number 1 pick was a player with generational potential. Cade is obviously one of them, but before this season, he was easily the number 1 pick that wasn't talked about or praised as much. But looking at it now, he's making a case as the second best player to build around among his fellow number 1 overall peers. The best one is Wemby for reasons I don't need to explain, but looking at the other number 1 overall picks, there's an argument to be made that Cade Cunningham is the best franchise cornerstone among them. And the reason I say this is because Detroit's resurgence is built upon Cade's talent and his ability to run an offense as opposed to just stacking a lot of great individual talent around him. The Pistons didn't have to trade for an all-star or trade another generational talent on their way to this turnaround, but instead, what they did was surround Cade with many great shooters and athletic wings and bigs who are good players individually, but who thrive even more from playing with Cunningham. Cade carried a huge load for the Pistons this season, and you really see this when you consider that on their way to the 6th spot, Cade had to average the most points by a Piston since the 2000-2001 season, while also averaging the most assists since the 1990-91 season. In contrast, when we saw team success from the other number 1 picks like Ant and Zion, it always came with another star who was heavily on the ball, sometimes as a scorer, but especially in terms of playmaking. Minnesota's regression this season was largely due to Cat's departure as a secondary star who takes on a lot of that load. And in the case of the Pelicans, in the stretches that they've won with Zion, it has always been with another ball handler. And that's because their play styles need another player to help carry the scoring load or to add another skill set like playmaking. But in Cade Cunningham's case, his play style is actually complementing and unlocking his teammates. And all of that begins with his playmaking. Any great scorer in the league is bound to see 2 or more defenders sent at them, and for Cade, it's in these situations that his playmaking is on full display. One of Cade's best abilities as a playmaker is to find the hole in the defense that comes with a double team. Take for example here as he comes off the pick and draws 2 defenders. Traditionally, the right read is to hit the roll man, which is something that you see especially in his pick and roll with Duren, but in this case, you can see him faking the pass, but he recognizes Fontecchio and is able to zip the pass to the wing. And Cade has a lot of these sharp passes that seem out of view for the defense because as you can see here again, McBride and Brunson are quick to close out on Cade, but he zips the pass quickly to Beasley, who gets the open 3.
In the corner to Beasley, this for 3, and he's black.
So you see a lot of these passes to the shooters, especially when the defense is showing 2 bodies coming off the pick. But Cade also hunts these shots by forcing the mismatch that comes from his size advantage as a big point guard. Notice here how he backs down Scoot Henderson and Ayton steps over to help, which makes Simons rotate to cover the dunker spot, but Cade recognizes that, so he hits Hardaway Jr. with a look-away pass for the corner 3. And same thing happens here with Isaiah Collier, where it looks like Cade is about to bump him all the way to the paint, and as the help comes over, Beasley rotates to the corner and Cade finds him for the 3. And his playmaking isn't just limited to half-court sets because one thing about Cade is that he feasts on transition opportunities or any downhill attack where the defense is not set. So this looks like outlet passes, which Cade is always looking to dish out to the guy running the floor or initiating the fast break himself and running coast to coast before dishing it out to his teammates. The length and athleticism on the Pistons roster also definitely makes it easier for Cade to find these opportunities, but he also makes it a point to cause the defense to scramble so he can feed the bigs and athletic wings. You can see it here as he comes off of this double drag screen, splitting 2 defenders and drawing the other 2 down low before lobbing it up to Duren. But all this attention that he draws when playmaking is only possible because of the threat he poses as a scorer, and some of the ways that Cade goes about his scoring are actually pretty similar to his playmaking. He averages about 4 transition possessions per game, and when he's not looking to dish it out, he's attacking to get downhill for a bucket. I can't emphasize it enough, but Cade is always looking to capitalize on the moments when the defense is not set, and although you do get those moments in the half court, they're most common in transition. But when he's not looking for transition opportunities, Cade is also comfortable in the half court, where he's solidifying himself as one of the best 3-level scorers. By looking at his shot chart, you can see that he loves to play in the paint, and you can see that he's very efficient from that area on the floor. And that's because as a big guard, Cade is able to force mismatches and create advantages, and the way he attacks also changes depending on what kind of player is guarding him. When he's being guarded by his fellow point guards, Cade usually has a size advantage which he never shies away from using. And it's here that you see that old school in Cade's game, because he uses his post game to back down smaller defenders, initiating contact to get close to the basket before finishing. And Cade has great touch around the rim, so many times you see him posting up or initiating the bump for separation before finishing with a hook shot or a floater over the person that's guarding him. And he's not the most explosive player, but what he lacks in athleticism he makes up for with his size and strength. At 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan, he's very crafty when getting to the rack, and he does a great job of using his body to shield his defenders on drives. Whenever he gets his defender on the hip, he gets easy looks around the rim, and these come in the form of layups, but he also gets more opportunities by initiating contact to create space, and he does a good job staying on balance and playing on 2 feet, which opens up looks like this one under the basket, attacking from the 3-point line. But because Cade himself is built like a wing, when he's being guarded by them, he sometimes has to do more than just getting downhill, and his size advantage isn't really much of a factor. But this is where Cade's bag of moves is on full display, especially in the mid-range where he has a variety of ways to get his shot off. He likes to start his attack from the wing, and my assumption is that it gives him a driving angle that allows him to get to what is arguably his favorite shot in the short mid-range. And in ISO situations, Cade has 2 main go-to moves, which are his shoulder bump, followed by that step back that you can see here, and on the baselines, he also channels that turnaround jumper. In the mid-range, he also combines his handle and strength to change direction, all for the purpose of getting him to his spots, and you'll notice that he loves the paint jump shots and is particularly able to get those because of his ability to keep his dribble alive at a slow pace, which he's able to do because he plays off of 2 feet. So even when he's driving with a big in the drop, he's able to just plant his feet for a short fadeaway. And as you can probably tell by now, his game is very fundamental, and you also see it in the way that he hunts his mid-range shots, which is mainly just through navigating through the screens in the pick and roll. And when it comes to his perimeter shooting, his 3-ball is just about league average, and it's still an area in his game that he could use more development, but you'll notice that Cade shoots the 3 mainly when he's coming off of a pick, or off the catch, but rarely off the dribble. But based on how much he's improved season after season, that may be the next step that we'll see him take in the coming seasons. We'll have to stay tuned for that progression, but for now, Cade Cunningham seems to be growing as an NBA fan favorite, and it seems like this might just be the beginning. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more content, but until next time, peace.